So, in a world where plenty of people are slowly beginning to once again drop the series of Chainsaw Man Part 2 because its weekly release just gets slow, it almost feels like we're getting half of a chapter sometimes with the way that the story progresses, and to be honest with you, sometimes the story just seems kind of aimless. Now, I will say, as a vehement defender of the series, although someone that's not afraid to criticize it either, as you can see in some of my older videos or older streams, Chainsaw Man Part 2, looking back on a lot of the story pieces and everything that we have gotten so far, does make sense and paints a really decent tale of character growth in Denji, of the struggle between wanting to live two lives at once, where Denji wants to live a normal life as a high schooler and live his normal life as an older brother to Nayuta, but also wants to reap all of the benefits and popularity that being Chainsaw Man does. And as Yoshida tries to tell him as a friend multiple times throughout the series, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have two things at once like that and lead double lives. It does not work. And I don't know if maybe after the Aging Devil arc, when they were all eating cake and Denji wasn't able to have the cake, I think that might have been maybe symbolism in some way, shape, or form, because from that point on, I feel like at least this whole entire mini arc with the fake Sawman has been gearing up and building up towards Denji being at a crossroads. Is he the hero of humanity? Someone that can stand up for the people that idolize him and be a good beacon of justice? Or is he a devil? Someone that only chases selfish desires, that only chases what he wants at a certain time, and is going to save people just because they're women. He only remembers the falling devil because of her chest. Which is crazy, by the way, because sure, you know what, I'm sure you've seen the Rule 34, Fallen Devil got it going on, but that's not the point. The chef outfit, the fact that you've got hands holding up the head, I feel like there are definitely more important features of the Falling Devil to remember, but again, Denji is one of a kind. There's no one that can be like him. Hey guys, real quick, if you want to support the channel, make sure you go down to gamersubs.gg/noop and get 10% off your nootropics and energy supplement fix, and we'll get back to the video. Something that I was getting into last chapter review that honestly may have been me getting in my head a little bit and looking too far ahead into the story that Fujimoto might not have even considered, was the Fire Devil presenting Denji with two choices again. You messed up that previous choice with the cat. You could have saved someone that really loved you and idolized you, but you chose a small, insignificant cat, which to me, I still think the cat has value. Can you argue human life is more valuable than an animal's? I'm sure in a debate, there'd be good arguments on both sides. I'm not here to argue animal rights here. What I am here is to say that my interpretation of the events that were going on was Denji again being at this crossroads that part 2 has given him multiple times over. However, when Denji found the cat, that was an option that no one saw other than him. And it always made me think that Denji has gone through all of this growth. He's gone through all of this trauma. The Aging Devil was the last straw and he has truly moved on, right? At this point, sure, there's always the argument that trauma doesn't just heal, and I always see people say that, you know, Denji will always be traumatized, and him going back to his trauma just shows that Fujimoto is consistent in portraying a traumatic character. We completely agree with that. But I think when Denji makes strides to become a better person, him sticking to that, especially after so long, almost more than 200 chapters, I think is justified, especially now as we are gearing up into what seems to be the rising action of the finale of part 2. Because as we're facing the Falling Devil for the second time, the character that we just barely were able to beat the last time we fought her, Yoru is completely outmanned. Yoru was completely overconfident and got completely one-shotted by the Falling Devil. And Denji, in response, tries to also fight the Falling Devil. And the Falling Devil says, "You are still the same as you were when you fought me the last time. You don't frighten me, you're nothing." And the Falling Devil puts Denji in a traumatic dream, as she often does, and changes his gravitational pull to start sending him up into the sky. Now, you and me, Falling Devil, everybody knows that's not going to kill Denji. What she really wants is to be able to create as much fear in the world as possible to spur the apocalypse and bring it about faster, because of course, as we know, Lady Death Devil has a plan, and her plan most likely involves, as the real Famine Devil suggested, eating Chainsaw Man at the peak of his power, and potentially that may change the world, or maybe having Chainsaw Man eat her, and hopefully that will end the apocalypse. It's unclear because we don't get the exact answer from Death Devil, and we still know that Yoru also has her plans of what to do after the Death Devil is beaten. So there are multiple different ways that this story could go. However, hearing that Denji is at the same power level as he was over 50, 60 chapters ago, and on top of that, we have the Fire Devil in Denji's nightmare showing him the person that he killed, and showing that even though the Fire Devil wasn't able to get through to him, reverting Denji to his child form, as we've seen with Makima back in part 1, is the easiest way of getting Denji as traumatized as possible. It is literally reverting him to his youngest form when he saw his father take his own life, or whatever the heck even happened in that door, because who knows if at this point if that's even the real truth of what happened. With Denji seemingly going on another trauma nightmare, I hope he wakes up from that quick. I know this is the Falling Devil's power, but I think it's safe to say after everything that Denji has been through, I need to see Denji persevere. If this really is the same Denji that we had almost 60 chapters ago, if not more so, during the Falling Devil arc, what have we been doing for all of this time? I know Asa is severely depressed to the point that she is not even worried about taking herself out by trying to free herself from the giant building that she's in. She just finger bangs the rubble and gets herself out, and then she goes to try and save Denji while Denji is constantly screaming, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," as he flies up in the air, apparently apologizing to the younger twin that the Fire Devil showed him, and seeing the error of his ways. What does this mean for the future? Maybe a bunch of you guys were right in my comment section that were telling me that Denji's growth does involve him becoming the hero of humanity. Denji's growth does involve him accepting the responsibility. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. It's a tale as old as time. It might be his Spider-Man moment, but I genuinely do believe that we have seen multiple times in the story that humanity also is not the greatest people to judge your character. We've got all of these people that have become Chainsaw Man radicals that are causing trouble and causing, you know, violence and death and destruction everywhere, bringing about the apocalypse faster. We have seen time and time again the humans turn against their heroes like Asa and like Denji the moment they don't act the way that they want them to. And not for nothing, I think it is interesting that the Fire Devil focuses on the younger brother and the idol, and focuses on giving all of the people with justice in their hearts Chainsaw Man powers, and she comes off supposedly as the nice person, the nice devil, when in actuality she completely leaves out the people that were in the car that all died, and the fact that the Chainsaw Man Church is causing nothing but death and destruction in the world. The Chainsaw Man people are out killing people. Are their deaths justified because they didn't have love in their heart? They didn't have justice in their hearts? Is Denji only supposed to save the people that care about him? Is he supposed to be indebted to the people that idolize him, even though what have they done for him? Now, this isn't the case of like a real world where it's like a celebrity where like, oh, you owe your fans. Denji did everything himself. His fans didn't do anything for him. So truly and wholeheartedly, I might sound cold here, but with how quick the humans, at least in the Chainsaw Man world, right? This is all fiction. I want to make this very clear that obviously killing people is wrong just in general. I don't want anybody to die in the real life. But based off of what Fujimoto is telling me in this world and the society that Denji is in, honestly, fuck some of these people. Do all these people deserve to die? No. That's why we need to stop the Death Devil. But saying that we need to focus on, you know, satisfying the desires of the Chainsaw Man Church and the people that idolize Chainsaw Man just because they idolize and love him, and then he saves them and then they all freak out and get scared because he's covered in blood and guts afterwards. Look, I don't know where the story is going. I hope we're not going into another Denji trauma arc. I think I speak for everyone when I've seen Denji go through enough trauma, torture, and mental nonsense, unless we actually get more lore. Because don't get me wrong, if we actually see the flashback of what happened with Denji's dad, if we find out more information that we didn't know before, I'm saying it's a worthwhile flashback. But if you're just gonna throw it in my face and tease shit that I've already seen, if I see dead Aki and all this stuff again, just stop. Just stop it. We need to move on with the story. I'm over it, personally. But again, in a world where a lot of content creators are slowly beginning to drop Chainsaw Man, despite my criticisms, I'm more than happy to see where Fujimoto takes the story, even though sometimes it's a little hard to come up with things to say in these chapter reviews every once in a while, especially in chapters like this, where I don't want to just summarize the chapter for you guys. I think you guys deserve a little bit more. But then sometimes I just end up getting on my soapbox and yapping too much, and then you guys, hate the things that I'm saying sometimes. So, it's kind of a give or take. So here or there, but as always, I'm always here to give an analyzed discussion. And the best part about fictional media is, even if you don't agree with my interpretation, we are all allowed to have, our own opinions and come to our own conclusions about the series. And that's the beauty of art. And honestly, that's the truth of good art. There is no truer sign of good art than controversy. If people cannot agree on the way that a certain story went and the way that a certain story should be interpreted, then the author did their job, in my opinion, in certain cases. See how I'm yapping too much now? Guys, I love you. Thank you so much for watching these Chainsaw Man videos every week. I genuinely do appreciate it. I have no foreseeable plans of stopping coverage of Chainsaw Man. So be here next Tuesday, every Tuesday that a Chainsaw Man chapter is out, and I promise you, I will have a video for you guys. Hit that like button if you like what was said. If you like Chainsaw Man still, leave a comment down below about your thoughts. And most importantly, subscribe, because not only is it good for the YouTube algorithm, it also helps you make sure you don't miss any future Chainsaw Man videos or any other series you may read weekly. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.